Okay. Uh, okay. All right. Hey, uh, offensive again. Yep. Thank you. That's me. It's transcripting me. Anyway,
Hi
whatever.
Chris, how are you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm good. I'm
Hi,
good.
Fencer.
I hope you know each other. Oh, I'm glad that you are familiar with one another. Let me get I'm gonna get the F1 on, and then let's chat about how you can do super well, right? Um, here we go. So this is the brief. Okay, everyone can see that.
Definitely how we can get distinctions.
Yeah, look, I look. We all mark. I mean, we all moderate it, so it doesn't matter whether I'm a strict marker or someone else is a lenient marker. You'll get moderated, and so the marks are as they are. But my main thing when growing, obviously, like the students from one year to another, is to make sure that you are excelling. You know that's I know that sounds so obvious that lecturer would want you to do that, but my point is that like I want you to excel. I want you to push like push that distinction, but start finding your path. From now, and obviously like finding a bit of a bit of passion in what you're trying out in your first year. Okay, all right, let's
Hi
go
Chris.
through. Yes.
Sorry to disturb you. There's a couple
No.
of students who are waiting to be accepted into
Oh, can no one
HRAD.
else accept them? Is it just me?
There's about okay, there's one, two, that is two that are waiting to be accepted, and the other one can't find the link. But I told her that it's on Call Campus.
Look, I can't see anyone.
I
I'm
think
saying,
they might have maybe joined a wrong meeting
Yeah, I'm
because
sure.
we were supposed to get a pop-up to admit them.
And then
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
the one that who can't find the link, I must just explain to her where to find it exactly because it has changed. Now it's under a different file name, so I just need to tell her where to find it
Oh,
exactly.
really?
Mm.
Yeah, because I'm sure you just for while I'm explaining what if they're in the lobby, just accept them, will you? Because I mean, like, I don't. It won't pop up on the minimized. Um, so are they saying this in the group? Are they saying this in the WhatsApp group? Eh?
Okay.
They, they should be saying it in the WhatsApp group. Like that's why it's there. Um, yeah, I see that people have joined. I'm saying, they joined.
The group, yes.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot, but it's funny that it's only three of us here.
yeah. No, but I mean, the thing is that they can't. You see, now I've tested it for a week and a half. Like there isn't any error. Does it make sense? And there isn't any like discrepancies in terms of like how to get onto the or into the class itself. So they just have to. They're doing just something wrong. Like they're just like you say, clicking on something that's it's not quite the right link, or uh, look, Teams is temperamental, and that's not a good enough excuse because we're forced to use it. You understand what I'm saying to you, right? But it is temperamental. Like let's say you're logging in from your phone, it might kick you. It might say that it doesn't exist, but if you like log off and like log back on, like suddenly like you get into a room. So, won't you just because they will appear in the lobby here? Do you understand? Um, and then or you just let them in, okay? And if you see
Okay,
them, if you see that you can't allow them in, and I have to allow them in, just stop me so that I can just let them in, okay?
okay, I'll do
All
that.
right, all right. But what you can see in front of you is the assessment, right? You
Yes,
can see
yes,
the
yes.
word document.
Yes.
Okay,
Please, do
good.
you
See it.
mind just giving them 2 minutes to join and then maybe we can kickstart at 18:11, please?
Yeah, no, no, no worries. No, that's not a big thing.
Thank you.
Because we're recording, I'd like to then use the time to just kind of like if there are any questions in general, like
Okay.
yeah, we can fill the time like that. What tell me from your sides, just in general, like in terms of the first week and a half, any questions? It doesn't have to be about radio in specific. Ideally, that'll be easier for me to answer. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on or concerns about like your first week and your first week and a half, should I say?
On my side, the first week, it was a lot because, coming from work, you're tired, and then by 6 o'clock, you must make sure that you are ready. And sometimes, for the past 2 days, I've had load shading from 6 o'clock, so I couldn't
Right.
attend any class, but I've informed the lecturers via email. I'm just waiting for the recordings, especially since this week it's assignment briefings.
Yeah.
So, guys, it's a bit
Set from the
challenging.
other classes, eh? Obviously,
Mm,
the recordings from the other classes.
yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
of a challenge.
Yeah, this is not. Look, I mean, look, I'm not pro this at all. I mean, like in terms of, and I've voiced it. I will voice it again, whatever it is. Like I'm just saying to you, it's a normal reaction from me. I don't like virtual at all, just because technically we waste half the time on technical problems like this. Like, understand,
Yeah.
like people
Yeah.
finding their way. We don't. There's too many variables that can go against you. In other words, like let's say like students struggling to get on, or students struggling to like get used to like a program or an app or whatever it is. Or you understand, there's a lot of time that's kind of wasted, and also like teaching is a personal thing. You understand, like because that I've been doing adult training for my entire life. So I teach program management, and I consult for companies like that. Um, and it's just like having someone in person in a group and in a certain place says to you, it's time to learn now. Do you know what I'm saying? Unless you're at a UNISA, which I also did work at, and you know that it is distance learning finished. You understand? But it is the way it just is the way. I mean, Boston City campus is completely virtual now. And yeah, I mean, it's and like I mean, we look at the varsities as well. Like most of the varsities as well are half virtual and half so on. We just need to get through the look. The thing that it does allow us is leniency in terms of like having patience. With students in terms of like there's going to be a transition period, and so and that's not a first year thing. It's a second and third. It's a student thing. So so yeah, we'll just kind of live and learn on that. Okay. um do you want me to start? You think there's more people coming?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
there's,
think you can start.
there's, yeah, you can start. There's
Yeah, it's
two
okay.
who are asking to be accepted.
Okay, but yeah, with like let's say a Sibulele that was just in, like anyone can
Yeah,
admit. Yeah,
Sibulele is
yeah,
in.
yeah. While I'm explaining, well, yeah, won't you just please do that for me and uh just accept the ones that come into the lobby. Okay. All right. Okay. So just to note, please, again, when we are doing, I should really find the mouse anyway. So when we are, like when there's, I mean, well, like, what am I saying? You don't know, it's your first year. But look, you submit within the week of the 10th to the 16th, all right, on Cole campus, which is like there are no classes that week. Okay. So you will be doing you'll have your time to finish up. Please don't ever leave like a formative assessment just because you only have you have the three formatives and the one summative, right? And well, I mean, what am I saying to you? You are a semester subject, right? You're for the first semester, eh? So you'll have two formatives, one summative, right? And you like students do this year after year after year after year. It's not something that's acceptable, but it is absolutely something that is effect like it is cause and effect. In other words, so you will feel the brunt of it, of having to then pay for obviously like a sup, and it's just not what you want. You're here to do well. You understand what I'm saying, right? So just make sure that you've got all your information ready. And in this week, it's about, let's say, just cleaning it up and making sure that that you are where you need to you are, and you load up. Also remember, like I'm going to say this with Cole Campus, so the students also have a habit of leaving their stuff to the last minute. So let's say on the 16th of April, you're going to have like this influx of students like across the board, uploading their stuff to Cole Campus, and then it doesn't accept it. Do you understand? Because the traffic is too heavy. So you will wait for your turn, and then you will miss the closing time because it'll just shut down. I'm saying to you, like, the submissions will shut down. Okay, all right. So let's go through the brief. Okay, let's get question one. Please always, with any theoretical questions, like, it try and can tell me something without me having to look, because here that someone is trying to join. Can someone accept them, or does it have to be me?
I think it has to be you because I don't. There's no
Anyone can
option to go into the
accept.
lobby. Or maybe
Can
my
someone
one is
accept it?
I
different.
just accepted
Okay.
Shalom now, so anyone can accept.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a
I
lot
can't
for that.
see
Good.
anything.
And that. Thank you. So no, no worries. But thanks for clearing that up. Okay, cool. All right, so let's do okay. Question one. And so the thing is, when there are obviously questions that count for 5 or 3 or 2 or whatever marks, or 9 marks, whatever, like, you must look at doing things in points. Do you understand? So that you can say, okay, I've made a like a point, like I've written something down. It's a fact. It counts for 1 mark. You understand? Or for half a mark, or it counts for 2 marks, or whatever it is, like, depending on obviously how the rubric is laid out here. Anyway, okay, so I want you to do that. Do not get into the habit of writing paragraphs, because paragraphs, are difficult to they're one difficult to mark. When I say it's not you're not making my life harder, you're making the possibility of doing well harder, less likely for you. You understand? Because the repetition comes on. You think that you're making 2 points, 3 points, but you've only made 1 point within that sentence. You understand? Just get into the habit of putting things into points, and then counting that as enough information to be valid. Okay, so question one, 25 marks. Why would you probably hear more advertising on a commercial station breakfast show than a public broadcast station's breakfast show? Okay, so again, once we obviously, again, we go through, we've gone through 1 week. It was the introduction of like understanding the radio landscape and so on and so forth. As we move on, a lot of these questions and answers to them will become a little bit more clearer. Do you understand? But some of them are already in the lessons that we already covered. Okay. But like, the obvious answer with a commercial station is that a commercial station it is bottom line centered. In other words, like, you got to start there. I'm saying, so you got to understand that it is about creating revenue, and so what happens is that we monetize everything that we possibly can, and especially on the breakfast show, at a commercial station, you're going to find a ton load of spots, like, so spots, your advert breaks and whatever it is, and you're going to find, like, traffic is sponsored, and news is sponsored, and, like, sports is sponsored, and then this competition is sponsored, and this feature is sponsored. You understand? It's just a money making, like we really push heavily, on flagship shows, right? With a public broadcasting station, as I said most last week, like, these are the Ukuzi FMs and so
Sorry,
on.
Chris, what are flag shows?
Flagship shows are your the stations that the shows that are perceived to carry the station. So, for example, your drive and your breakfast show are your biggest quote unquote shows. That's not necessarily the truth, I'm saying, because when we look at the Rams, which we discussed a little bit last week about, right? And I have uploaded this one here that you can see here, that it says there in question 1.4. Like, you okay, well, you'll only see numbers. Do you understand, right? But like full Rams, and maybe I'll just upload the last full RAM report that we actually got like fully detailed. The thing is that it's a third year concept. You understand, to understand why there's an ebb and there are flows within, like the weekday numbers, the Monday to Sunday number, and the Monday to Friday numbers, right? That's what I just said. Monday to Sunday, the average listenership across there, and then the Monday to Friday, right? But our flagship shows again are your biggest one is your breakfast show, because uh, traditionally it should be the one with the most listeners. You understand? If it's not the one with the most listeners, the station is actually doing something wrong, because your listener anywhere, any type of listener, is more active, like at that time in the morning, and wants to tune into something that starts their kind of like their thinking. You understand? Their pragmatic or their practical thinking, whatever it is, their logistical thinking. It starts their sparks. You understand? And also subliminally, like we hear news, we feel a little bit more informed. It makes us feel ready for a day. Do you understand? Um, and I'm not saying everyone listens to, no, I mean, like, people's lifestyles are different, right? But the majority of people that do listen to radio will listen to the breakfast show, at least with a couple other shows that fit their schedule. You understand, like their lifestyle schedule. Okay, okay, but again, we'll go. Remember, we still have a month of classes to go through. You understand what I'm saying to you? That will answer these questions more clearly. You understand? Okay. So if you were listening to the radio while studying at home, would you likely hear more music on Jacaranda FM or SAFM, and why? So that's an easy one, because we started to discuss formats, and I wanted to understand a little bit, just to test the waters, like, do you know of stations? Do you listen to radio? Like last week, and I said, I started saying, like, let's talk about regional stations and national stations. Like SAFM is a national talk station. Do you understand? And Jacaranda is a adult contemporary music station. So I'm not trying to give you the answers here. I'm just saying it's kind of obvious. You understand? Like when you know what SAFM is about, you'll know that the answer is Jacaranda. You understand? Right. But you see, the thing is, like, for example, answering the three, you see, you have to give obviously the correct answer, and you must give me 2 points as to why, like, this, like Jacaranda is a music-based station. Is the choice, because it is predominantly music. It is like its format is adult contemporary, and that would give you, let's say, your marks there. You understand? Okay, which three SABC owned radio stations obtained their revenue from, or obtained, should I say, their revenue from advertising? Okay, once again, I don't want to help you too much on everything, right? But that is commercial. Okay, so look at the three commercial stations. Consult the Rams Amplify Radio Listenership Report, October 21 to September 22, right? Okay. So, and answer the following questions. So you can, again, find that on Cole Campus. I've loaded that up, or you can go to the BRC site, as I've said in a previous lesson. Okay. So which PBS had the largest past 7 days? So P7D listeners for the period supply the listenership statistics for the station, right? To get those marks there. Again, do it in point form. We already discussed who that station was, because they are at the top of that list. Which public commercial station has the largest yesterday listeners, okay, in South Africa? Supply the listenership statistics for the station. Which privately owned station has the largest P7D listenership? So supply the listenership statistics for the station. So privately owned, can anyone remember, like from last week, a privately owned station? And give me three examples of privately owned stations that exist in South Africa. Anybody?
947.
Yes, 947 is one of them. Jacaranda is one of them. Give me another one. Like anything. Think of all regions have privatized stations, either belonging to Kagiso or Prime Media, or we have the hybrid, we have the hybrid investors. You understand? Um, so okay, I'm not gonna. I mean, you should know this, okay? But I'm not gonna give you more, so you can just go have a look at your textbooks and stuff, okay? Name a station in the international radio market that has successfully rolled out of a DAB system. Okay, so you'll find that answer in your books. Okay, or you can just look it up on the net, right? But then if you are looking it up in the net, remember that you'd have to your references have to be on point, right? Okay, so that I know where to go and check that this information is correct. But I already mentioned to you that in the very the Nordic states in Europe, right? So like Norway and Finland and stuff like that, they've already done away with AM and FM. So you need to go look there and start finding your answers somewhere around there. In the United States, which is the most popular radio format? Now, I've already mentioned that as well, right? Remember, a format is like what I just said, adult contemporary. But the thing is that we we have we have so many different types of formats thanks to the United States that is so incredibly huge as a I'm saying as a continent, right? And so has so many different sects of people with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of commercial stations, right? That go and they can be specialized so uniquely into radio formats, you know. So you would have to go and look that up. Okay, identify some of the key challenges prohibiting the growth of the radio industry in Zambia. So that's also again from a last lesson. Okay, again you'll just find this a lot of this is like it's just looking at your textbook, making sure that you can apply those answers that you find correctly. Okay, and then again reference the textbook or reference the sites that you've been using. Please don't use sites that are not verified. In other words, don't use spam sites. You understand? Spam sites, fake news, opinion stuff. Make sure that you are using like sites that you can go and on Google. There's like 5 main places, main portals that you can actually just go and like copy and paste the URL just to check how let's say left biased, right biased, opinion based, fake news, that type it is. It'll spit out a report. You understand? Of checking whether the source is dependable or not. Okay, let's look at question 2. So what is a demo? That's what we're going to be doing today. And how can it be used to find a job as a presenter on a radio station? Please remember that again, do it in point form. Describe the key elements involved in making a powerful radio demo. Once again, in today's lesson, right? So should you include full-length songs in your demo? If not, explain why. Why would volunteering be considered to be an important factor in finding employment as a radio presenter? Find one of your favorite radio presenters' Instagram pages, right, or Instagram accounts. So identify one post that you feel is successful at promoting their radio show and explain why it works. In this case, please copy or screenshot that post and put it in here. You describing it to me could be you making it up. You understand? So I will just like cross it out completely and just give it a 0. Okay, well, digitally, and I'll do it on Call Campus. So go ahead and like I say, like remember, it must be something that is promoting their show, that has to do with their work. Okay, supply one area of improvement that would benefit this presenter's profile. Okay, sorry, it's a little bit too far down. Okay. Okay, so the thing is that digital also, I think we look at today. All right, okay. I think we do look at it today. Okay, so you've got to look at it and explain things like, for example, it's not a clean profile. So, for example, there's a bit of a mess. You know, like there's messy posts. They're not using hashtags correctly that are trending. Excuse me, that are trending. Like the photo is not well edited. It has no point. It's just them with sitting at a table, which is really like You know, there's got to be a reason. Which table you sitting at? Like, are you at a prison? Are you at are you at a restaurant? Are you about ready to go out live on stage? That's different. Like, you understand? It's got to have context for it to be an like a worthwhile post, right? Anyway, Roxy Burger offers insight into creating a compelling digital profile, provide areas of improvements that you could make in your own use of social media with reference to the advice that you received from Roxy Burger. Okay. All right. So again, please, like in these ones, because they are insightful questions. In other words, they have to be that if you're going to base them a little bit on facts, like the main aspect of why you're going to get the mark is because it's going to be an answer you came up with. Does that make sense? Make sense? So in other words, like for example, if Roxy says like it's got to be consistent, then you would improve on your own social media strategy by creating a digital calendar. Do you understand? Like you would say something like that because it's of your own thought. Like you're mixing an answer. You're matching an answer to a question. Okay. Right, let's keep going on. So here's question 3, 23 marks. So why is it necessary to classify a radio station based on format? What entity is responsible for monitoring if a radio station is adhering to its predetermined format? So again, so these are our legal systems, that we have in place. With us specifically, it is ICASA. Like we started introducing ICASA just because of licensing, right? But again, for lessons to come. Okay. So which is the most economically dominant format of the radio station in South Africa? Okay. Supply 2 examples of language-specific AC stations. So AC is adult contemporary, right? Once again, stuff that if you feel like where's this coming from, comes from your textbooks, but we need to understand that we're only in week 2. You understand? So we will cover a lot of discussions moving forward that'll make this clearer. Supply 2 examples of language-specific AC stations in South Africa. 947, a dominant AC commercial station, right? That is slowly trying to change to an urban, like an urban youth station, although its license says otherwise, right? Okay. In Johannesburg has acquired the service of Robert Marawa for a nightly sports talk show. Explain with references to the station's format why this move is groundbreaking for a music station. When you say ground, please, so the word groundbreaking is very, like it's very misleading because of the fact that Robert Marawa has been doing this for decades. You understand? Kind of in the same format, in the same slot, for different stations, obviously predominantly Metro, right? Okay. It needs to be groundbreaking and we have you see, it is a music station that needs to adhere to ICASA rules, like its licensing, you understand? So what they've done essentially is had to lower the amount of talk that happens on other shows so that Marawa's show can actually be allowed to be a sports talk show, right? But for a station that is it's CHR, it's CHR actually, like it's so in other words, contemporary hit radio is 947, right? Um, like for them to include a talk show now and a sports talk show. um I have my own opinions about that. We can discuss that at a later point. I don't want to affect your what you might be thinking right now. Okay. All right. Also coming from that station, like spending a decade there. Yeah. Okay. Like again, I'll have my own thoughts. Do not influence yours. Considering the difference in formats, why could Marawa's new show be seen as a controversial, or as controversial when considering 947's sister station, Talk Radio 702? See, that is a problem. Like, why put Marawa on 947 where he should actually be on Cape Talk and Talk Radio 702? Do you understand? Right. So they're trying to emulate, like you can see that there's this big attempt at a shift with 947, and you've seen it in the rebranding, the constant rebranding that has happened too fast over too much of a little period of time. So it's too close, right? um, and because they're trying to do a lot of things for a lot of people, which is the first rule of how you lose listeners, right? 947 isn't stupid either. That's the thing. The station is very um, it's very pragmatic in the way that it also researches. There's a lot of research before it does make decisions. But like a station manager is still a person. Do you understand? And so are his or her subordinates. So they can make, and they do make, mistakes quite often. Okay. Contingency plans are needed. Okay. So why is a podcast creator allowed to experiment with formatting in ways that a radio presenter is not? Remember, that's 5 points. You want to be able to give us 5 separate facts. Name 3 ways social media may be used to promote a person's podcast series. And that's really cool. Okay. That's quite an easy one. Okay. All right. Let's just keep going. So question 4, 25 marks. Provide a. This is annoying. Let me just get this here. Okay. So provide a graphic which demonstrates a radio show's life cycle. That comes from your book. Okay. When a show first begins, name 3 areas of discussions which should be avoided and explain why. How many minutes of the first hour of the show in its maturity phase should be dedicated to relationship content? So these are graphics that you're going to find in your textbook. You understand? So that you'll see these little pie charts or whatever it is that'll show you this. Okay. And again, we will cover it as well. So when a show has begun to show signs of a decline, what percentage of the show content should be dedicated to the greater storytelling to try reinvigorating the product? So why does this content type work for improving on a weakening radio show? Okay, remember again the mark allocation. Using Johnson's series of ones, Tracy Johnson provide an example of a content type that would be considered strong enough to command a listener's attention. 3 marks. Okay, so again, one sentence is not going to be enough. Always write more than less in any assignment. Okay, just write more. Like, you, it doesn't matter whether you've written five specific, like, and validated or justified points. Get the 3 marks, whatever it may be, right? Rather than write one and know that, like, that's not going to be enough. Moving enough to cause a definite emotive response. Interesting enough to have the information shared among friends. Okay, so great. Then you're going to get technical marks there. That's money for jam, but it's also money. When I say, I've never understood that saying, so I don't understand what it means, but it means basically getting stuff for free, right? So money for jam there, like just please, you guys work on word processes. You know that spelling it's underlined in red, and grammar is underlined in blue or green or whatever it is. I don't know, whatever your settings are, right? And then please, you have to use correct referencing. Does that make sense? Okay, so you have classes, or you will have a class on using the Harvard method in text and reference list in reference list, in listing references, right? And so you should know exactly how to do that. Please, I'm not going to go through the rubric, okay? Because you must use the rubric as the guideline. Does it make sense? Because it'll break it down. It's a little bit clearer. Make sure that you are ticking off all the boxes in a rubric and understanding that that is how it is. Please, in your assessment, you must include this, okay? Everything will be a PDF or a Word document, right? Make sure that when you do upload your your assignment, right, that you do check, that you come back and you check that it is there, because a lot of people go and they upload like a no file type no file type file, which is something that just doesn't have an extension. You understand? So it's not a dot doc, not dot XLS or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. And so it is a zero immediately. And the thing is that it's hard for someone to justify like any reason to even get the sub. Okay, remember you have to get more than 30%. I think that's so. Yeah, 30% or 35 to qualify for a sub. I genuinely do not think there's any reason. Okay, so I'm gonna stop presenting there for you to need a sub. Makes sense. Let me just put the lights on. Give me a second. Make sure you see me. While I have lights, electricity. Okay. Alright, setting this bare darkness, cool. Okay, alright. What are the questions? What questions do we have before I get into the lesson? Nobody?
Chris.
Yes.
So some of the questions regarding the assignment, at the moment, we won't be able to answer until we get to those lessons.
Yes. Yeah. So no one's expecting you to go and do work that you understand what I'm saying to you. Like we have to teach you it. You understand? Like, and the thing is that we won't teach until the fourth week, like the week before you have to hand in. Do you understand? Like I'm saying to you, we will teach. We'll have lessons, but we're not going to teach you like stuff that needs to be actually explained and understood, like in the week that you're the week before you go for your, like your submission week. So don't worry about it. The whole thing of why we have a briefing week like now. All the briefs are explained to all the obviously the cohorts and stuff like that, and all the subjects, like is because we need you to know that we are, like, it's now. You're going to be assessed now. April is not far away. It's only a month and a week away, so 5 weeks away. That goes really quickly. And that also, that you have a lot of subjects to take care of. Do you understand? So you need to be supplied with the information so that when you have questions, you understand, you have to ask. Okay. Or if you want like content checked, like you have to email that to me so that I can check and say, no, like this is wrong. You understand? And I'm not gonna. I'm gonna have to. I give you enough guidance for you to not have the answer from me. I mean, I literally gave you like a couple of answers anyway. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal in this context right now. But I'm not gonna. I can't say no. Here's this. This is wrong because, like, I will tell you, this is just wrong. Like, just the way that the information that you've decided to submit here incorrect, because that, so that you can go and, like I say, like collectively, and like in terms of like you're actually growing and learning a lesson. You understand? I'm saying you're learning a skill. That's how I can assist you. Okay. Um, okay. I did also, you got the WhatsApp group. I've said that already. I mentioned that already. Everyone seems to be like kind of there, which is cool. It's great. Any more questions before I get into the lesson? Like I said, there are 2 lessons today, as usual on a Wednesday night, but they're quite short. Okay.
Chris,
Chris, yes,
for me, it's not a question. I think it's just a comment. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you.
Okay, just on the 947 and the Robert issue.
Mm.
You mentioned that the station manager can make mistakes and all that, but I feel like that decision, it's way above the station manager. It's like, the board decision to be taken by the station manager can just be.
Yes, look, you know what? Remember. So this is everywhere. Like, I mean, it's not just in South Africa, but because South Africa, it's a lot. Unfortunately, some program and station managers are the word sounds terrible. Like I'm saying something bad about them, but it's true. Like, they are the messengers. Like, they are puppets. You understand? So there's a board that oversteps its involvement within the running of a station. You understand, right? So the board I don't. Let's say if it's so if it's a station, if it's um now a decision that's going to have like a mass ripple effect, like I could say cause and effect. I always say that, like the board or the stakeholders will have some kind of say, but they don't actually, like there's not that much favoritism that there is, that it's forced upon. Do you understand? Like the idea is to trust the station manager to do that job for you. You understand? And then if there is obviously, like, I mean, this type of thing where it is like, this is again, it's new ground for 947. It's not supposed to be done in that format. You're correct in saying that the stakeholders would have had to be involved in that decision, because that's a business decision. It's not even a station decision, that's a corporation decision. You understand? Because it affects the license, and it affects the agreements, and it affects and affects and affects. You understand? And whether or not 947 listeners are interested in listening to to sports. You understand what I'm saying to you? Robert Marawa can, yeah, I mean, he's the only radio broadcaster in the past. I don't even think there's been one, but I'm just like, let's just be for what we've been conscientious of. So let's say I started radio 23 years ago. I've never heard of any presenter beyond two, like, commercial stations. So I think it was at Radio 2000 and at Metro at the same time. Like, he's the only man that has ever been able to be allowed to do that, because you understand what I'm saying to you, like what he does and who he is. I'm saying to you, right? The listeners have too much of a loyalty to him. So stations never ever has shared a presenter, ever. And through his transition period, obviously we know that he got let go from Metro FM, and then there was all this back and forth and all this crap I'm saying to you in between. Like, in this, because it is a volatile decision, only because this one I'm saying to you, right? Like, the board would have to have some input on saying you may go ahead and do what you feel is right. That's as far as they would go. Do you understand? So you're three quarters correct, but you must always leave room for, like, like variables that we don't, we're not exposed to, and variables that would change it in a different situation with a different station. I just kept talking there. I'm just saying, John, I don't even know if you're. I know you made a statement. I made like 100 more back. Okay.
No, it's cool. No, it's cool. No, no, we can proceed. It's fine.
Okay. Cool. Let's move to the first lesson today. Give me a second. So we are on yeah, lesson 3. Go. All right. Just going to go there. Please stop me if there are any questions. Again, right? I'm not going to actually run the PowerPoint presentation. You can all see just fine, right? And today with this one, we are going to look at just your academic preparation. Okay. So the way that you are becoming ready. I say. So every lecturer, I'm sure, is just as passionate. We don't see another, like, I don't see another subject. Like, I mean, I don't know what you do in media law, and to an extent, I suppose it sounds like I don't really care, because I mean, I really I really don't, in the nicest possible way. Like, I am just about your radio journey. You understand? And so like we all say, choose, like, almost like kind of spend your entire day, like, understanding this particular craft, which is what what I'm about to tell you right now, where you need to, where we said there was 296 community stations, 31 commercial stations, and I think there must be about, I don't know, in the 20s something for a PBS station. You understand? Right. So we have a good number of stations that we can listen to here in South Africa. A good variance and a good representation. The reach for those stations is not, that's the problem, right? But the thing is that you have to know about the craft, and you have to know about the industry, because like, because to be a media practitioner and to be able to move through your career, you will be faced all of hit, they coincide at some point or other, especially in a 2023 era, you know, understand, where there is radio on TV, on radio. I'm saying to you, like, there's visual aspects, there's digital aspects, there's journalistic aspects, so we quote unquote print, you understand, like, you've got to be kind of everything as a radio presenter, but also as a media practitioner. Like, you will see these different facets and crafts come together. But okay, let's do some math. Let's assume that the average radio show is 3 hours long. For a 12-hour radio station, they would have 12 hours divided by 3 shows, 4 shows per day, 4 shows by 2 people per show, 8 people on air daily. For 24-hour radio show or radio station, that number could grow to between 15 to 24 people on air daily, right? Okay, so that's including, let's say, the average on teams. Okay, so some people, as you know, the most are actually just like they solos, you know, they solo shows, while we have bigger teams on, again, like I say, breakfast and drive, right? So operations team can vary between 16 to 32 people, and to obviously make things like unfortunately abundantly clear to the opportunities within the stations themselves, available jobs are between 4, 8 and 9, 6. That sounds like a lot. It really isn't. You understand? So, like, let's say on average, so this is jobs across all 300 stations. Like, you want to, let's divide that by 10, and consider there of, I always say there's about 500 on air jobs at any one time in this country, which is exactly that 4,800, right, divided by 10, you know. Yeah, well, yes, that's right. Okay, because we want to get it down to 30 stations so we can look at the commercial stations where you actually make some money, right? So so considering that we have just that amount of opportunities, let's look at like new ways of creating content for audiences outside of the formal sector. So it is, listen, like, the thing is that the dream is radio. You want to be at a station, you want to be with the brand, like, you want to be able to move through community radio, and then be the one of the many hundreds that have attempted to apply to commercial and just didn't make it because you were the best, you understand. Only the best are supposed to be seen as those that make commercial and stayed commercial for at least 5 years, you know, like, that's the minimum, that, you know, that shows that you were useful enough, and, you know, obviously talented enough to make a difference in listeners' lives here in a country, you understand, right? Not a lot of people, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 jocks, like, for example, like Robert Marawa, like Alex J, like you see, we can't even count Fresh anymore, even though Fresh had a long career. But the people that are still on commercial radio, you understand? And it's been decades. Like, this is not the idea for a media practitioner. Because, again, speaking from experience, okay, and so I started at Tux, as I've said to the guys last week, like, and my focus was on programming, in other words, being on air. So, like, my main aim was to get on commercial radio. Like, I got there, then it was a whole new other journey, do you understand? And I worked for Ryan Seacrest, and I went in and out of different types of shows, and it was, the focus is so wholly on being on air and what you have to do, that it consumes your career, do you understand? And when I was in my early 30s, so let's just talk about a decade ago, like Neil Johnson, who ran Kai FM recently, that was his most recent. He's part of now the boards and everything, like at the NAB and ICOS and the BCCSA and stuff like that, innovation for radio. But anyway, like, he said to me back then, like, he said, like, I'd like you to come off air and come work for me. He was then running Jack Rand at that point, and saying, come be the production manager. Yeah. And I said to him, I don't want to, like, because I want to still be on air. which was a childish a childish choice. You understand? I wanted like a bit of everything, which is like I said, I'd like to do both. You know, in other words, not having the courage to let go and listen to someone who's had multitudes more of like, you know, like experience than I have, who can foresee a greater future for you. You understand? And I had done, and he said to me, like when I did turn down the job, which I do still regret. I mean, I don't have many regrets in life because they're a waste of time, but I do regret that moment just because, like, I mean, like he phoned me and he spent 3 hours on the phone. I mean, he even went to a bar at that time, so I drank a little bit, and he was life skilling me on like future decisions, you know, which soon after, like, I wrote the book on radio, the academic book on radio and stuff like that, because I listened to him and understood that ego is your biggest obstacle as a jock. I'm saying as a jock, but the thing is that, like, you have a lifespan that will end. Every single jock gets fired. You understand what I'm saying to you, right? When I say fired, your time ends, man. Like every single job. Good, like I'm saying, the ultimate best to the mediocre of the best. You understand, right? Like everybody, you have to learn how to be more than just one thing in any industry that you do decide. You guys are in first year, you got lots of choices that you want to make and are going to make. But I'm saying to you, like, that stuck with me. And that was, like, ironically enough, not taking that job was the first very slow step to actually growing to become a real, like, fully fledged, I'm a proper media practitioner. I know everything there is to know about, like, the broadcasting industry within the radio space. Like, you understand, like, you need to be a person that is more than just the brand. Okay. And today we talk about, you know, like, oh, you are the brand, and, you know, you must sell your brand, and because of the influence of social media, which is true. And it's true, right? But the thing is that, you know, I get so many, because I have a lot of private students that obviously my company, like, will then they'll train under my company and stuff like that, and they want to make it to radio. I'm saying, like, a station. I'm saying to them, look, like, there's so many outlets right now, and it's not a consolation prize. It's not where you can, like, last year, and I'll bring it up for the last time, maybe until we maybe do some podcasts in the formative too. But I was the first independent media company to be nominated for a radio award ever in South Africa, and it's to prove a point, man. Like, to prove that now in 2023 you do not have to belong to a station to have a career. I'm saying, in media practices. Do you understand? And and that's the kind of thing that I wanted to do. I started my own initiatives, like my activations and stuff like that, to make sure that I understood that your independent brand can live, because like previously, it's about 10 to even 5 years ago, like, if you didn't belong to a station, like, your career was done. Like, you were done, for real, for real, for real, not joking. And so you often have seen this with DJs, you know, they go from, let's say, like a slot, then they go to, like, a smaller slot. I'm saying, then they get off the station, then they go to like a less popular station, and they start fading away slowly and slowly and slowly, you know, and until they just vanish, you know. And then there are obviously some guys, like, like I see now, Moji is the drive presenter for Mix. I think it's Mix FM, right? Like, that man, he hasn't been in the industry for long. I'm saying no one cares about Moji. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I say that with true, like, affection, saying he hasn't been relevant at all, because the last time that he was, which was on Metro FM, and was doing the weekends, and he was at the precursor to Mo Flavor, like, actually coming in as well. Like, the man was arrogant. Like people, the public knew of his faults, you know, and his flaws, which was not good. You understand? So what looks like, oh, he's back, oh, like Moji's back, and look at him, he's like looking fantastic in his press photos, whatever it is. Like like it's been years where this man has been who knows where. And that's what I'm saying to you. What we're trying to do in this lesson specifically is tell you that it is not easy to get into radio, right? It's not impossible. It's being done literally today. Like there are people on radio, you know, but it's by no means easy. Okay, and that's not to pat ourselves in the back. It is a mission, and once you start, you will love hate the craft for the rest of your life because it is incredibly intensive. Um, Sorry, that's just my phone. Okay, but it's incredibly intense. You know, it's directly effective to your physiology. In other words, both your mental and your physical. You understand, right? And it's such a great job as well. So you know, and like I say, it's a real love hate relationship, some kind of like um adulterous, you know. It'll be the longest relationship you have in your life, right? But anyway, my point is that don't look at you have to look at other your content creators now professionally because you have now decided to study this like officially. So you need to be looking at your social mediums, which we'll chat about, right? But you have to start cleaning them up and start creating content not for likes, because we now have solid proof that likes are bought and followers are bought. You can buy them for, I think you can buy like 500 followers for something like $2, two and a half, $2.50, right? It's it's so like this is what people have done, and for a while people were fooled by that. But the thing is that then like their impressions are different to their engagements, and people start we don't question it anymore. You know, we just see these people with 5 million followers, and they have the stupidest things on there. Not stupid fun, honey, like, but it's just pointless stuff. Do you understand, right? And you can't, like, so let's say so I look at fitness videos, like, you know, so it's on TikTok or whatever it is, on Instagram, whatever it is. Like it's like these short little reels or whatever that have like 3, 4, 5, 15, 20,000 views, easy, quick. And what are they doing? Like a push-up or whatever it is. I'm saying to you, it's not riveting content. And so you can't, there is no comparison right now and a model for social media or the digital space. We're now rapidly recreating like that space to live in. But one of the things that have become very predominant is that you can absolutely build a successful brand independent of like piggybacking on another, like on someone else's shoulders, like I say, like a company like a Kakiso or an SABC or whatever, right? Okay. um so I want you to remember that as you do start creating your content, I'm saying becoming a content creator. Okay, read everything, watch everything. There's too much to read, there's too much to watch. But the thing is that, like, for you to be um like conversational, and you must think, I need to create content for the rest of my life. That is a lot of content, man. And I can't be intimidated by that you understand I was going to say those that in unlimited boundary. I can't be intimidated. Oh my god, I'm going to get like I'm going to run out of ideas, or I don't. If you are that person, you're not going to do well. You must just accept the fact that you are capable of constantly creating ideas, because the world around you is full, jam packed, man, of sources and triggers, and you know what I'm saying, to anything that you can, you know, but you have to be knowledgeable, right? So you
Can
can't
I?
be on. Yes, yes.
Sorry. I like the slide, and I'd just like to add the previous one,
Yes,
that be open to exploring and experiencing things,
yes.
yeah, so that will contribute
Yeah,
towards
and the thing,
success in the radio world.
indeed, that's the thing as well. And the thing is that obviously, while you are, let's say, when you are with the station, like you're going to be exposed to a whole bunch of things that you never thought you'd be. You understand doing. You understand, and you'll do it more often because you the predominant life cycle of a DJ rests on pleasing the listener. You become listener centric. You know, in your second phase of like your lifespan, right? And so you'll be ready to jump off a plane or to swim with sharks or to do something. You understand what I'm saying? Like you will do stuff, and you'll constantly also be offered opportunities because that's what that's what people do. They'll send you free stuff. They'll tell you to please come to this concert. They'll tell you to please come to this, whatever it is. Like so, you'll go and say yes. You understand, but you also must also understand that so I use I say this disclaimer because new people here. I like using the same anecdotes, not over and over because I don't have anything new to say. When a new anecdote that I know has a powerful message to obviously communicate through, like exist, I reuse this. This is one of my favorite ones. Is when like I moved straight from campus. I moved directly into weekday 7 to 10 radio, in the evenings, right? So it's a prime time because the weekday breakfast, at the nighttime breakfast. Like, and the thing is that, again, I'll re-say this. So Sammy T's an old school jock, right? He used to do the show after me on Friday nights. Specifically, it was a specialty show. And he said to me, Chris, how was the show? And I said, it was great because I don't do crap radio, right? He says, cool. Tell me what, like, what did you do? And I said, it's Friday. I played music. Like, what do people want? They don't want anything like to sit and discuss, like, oh, they went through this experience, or, people are just like, because we were in Santon, that side of the news cafe and taboo and restaurants or whatever it is packed from like 3 o'clock with mostly just suited men that look like they came from the JSE, right? But the thing is that for me the perception was not like I got to that point because my perception was quite on point. You understand? So the talk topics I would bring up were what my listeners wanted, so they stood out and they landed or whatever it is. But he said to me, like, you need to genuinely after this, don't go home. I mean, whatever it is, I mean, or whatever you want to do on a Friday, why don't you just go over there, but do one thing: don't say a word. Watch everyone, what they're saying, how they're behaving, like, and that's only one setting. He said to me, like, on Tuesday morning, go and take a walk around your neighborhood, or go to a local shopping center, or, you understand, when you're sitting with your best friends or whatever it is, like, just sit and observe, because the thing is that there are a lot of other things happening in this world than just what we think is by popular choice. You understand? Which will land, but the thing is, great radio personalizes to a point where it really hits home for a listener. So the thing is, again, just to like off the back end of the last comment, was you will also make really terrible choices. Obviously, that's called life, right? But it gives you life experience, which means you can connect to many more people who also make terrible life decisions. Like when you experience something terrible, you made a wrong choice, or it was just not the right, like, you understand, not the right time or right place. I don't know. There are many things, right? The more humane you become, the more empathy, which it's mandatory. Like, you have no choice. You have to be an empathetic human being to be a great radio presenter. Like, so what is empathy? If anyone can just like take a guess, what's empathy?
Putting yourself in someone's shoes.
Yes, exactly. Right. Okay, because you can imagine much more things seeing it through their eyes, even if you've never even been close to that situation. Like, I mean, I have never been on the streets. Thank thank the Lord. Like I haven't been there yet. I don't know what the rest of my life obviously like has in place for me or whatever. But I can imagine very clearly, to a large extent, like the things that run through a person's mind who wakes up, quote unquote, homeless. Do you understand? And the thing is, the rest of that information that I need, that I don't, that I blanks for, I need to go and find out. Agree? So I would have to go and go into that particular sect and observe and ask questions and go look for what stories I feel like the world needs to hear. You understand? Okay. So okay. Anyway, let's head off and finish the lesson. And
Chris,
then yes,
can I ask two quick questions? One is you
yes,
were going on about changes in radio.
yeah,
I was curious to know if you heard about the Fired FM and all that talk about it. The second thing is, what are your thoughts about, I mean, in South Africa, traditional radio is still very popular and gets a ton of spend from agencies.
yeah.
What are your thoughts about where the world's going from a digital perspective, um, specifically with podcasting and the
Okay.
digital radio, so to speak, your Spotify of the world?
Okay. So the first question was, did you say that everyone was fired from five,
No,
or
the
there was a
Fired FM. There
fire?
were a lot of talks about some new station with Robert and Fresh called Fired FM.
Oh,
Just curious.
Fired FM. Yes,
Yeah.
that was a while ago. Remember, it was they were trying to push it at on social media a lot, but it wasn't only going to be them. It was going to be Gareth Cliff was think was going to be involved, and it was yes, it was Robert, and it was
Spoo.
Fresh. Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah, yes, and Spoo, like the king. I'm sorry, Mzeke. Right. Anyway, okay,
The
so
king.
jeez, please, I'm a fanboy. Please don't please, but yeah, the thing is that it just never. It's a great concept, but it's a good gimmick. Does that make sense? Like that's that would live online. I'm saying to you that would be and that would work better as a podcast as opposed to an online station, only because the only online station that genuinely has at this point, I'm saying, because of its age, which is 9 years, I think now, is
Is
Cliff
Cliff
Central.
Sim. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to ask you, besides
yeah.
them, no one else has really,
No, you see,
done any headway in that sort of space in this country.
no. I've said this before. I was one of the founders for Gay Say Radio. Like it's in its sixth year right now, but it's not. It's in its 10th. You understand? It's like Cliff, like Massive Metro, like completely obliterated. Like Touch, like obviously like Touch is one, which kind of like fell nowhere and then came back and then went nowhere, and then I think he's trying to revive it, but he's on radio anyway, like he's gone back to radio. So you understand what I'm saying to you? Like I've said, so with that would have been a great idea, and everybody like who's a consumer would have tuned into at least one show, like, or at least one day or one week to that station, because those are powerhouses. Like they're what we iconicize, like radio with. Do you understand? So there's not a chance that would have not been a great activation. Whether it could be an ongoing thing, I don't think so, because the egos are far too big. Does it make sense? Every single one of them were let go because of egos that could not be managed. Every one of them. You understand?
Hence,
Smooth.
Fired FM.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying to you. But the thing is, but like I said to you, everyone's been fired. I mean, I've been fired, everybody been fired, Joe Madison fired, everybody, like, you understand, you let go sooner or later. Like, fired is just an ugly way of made, like, putting on some, like, a smell to it. And it's really actually not that. Sometimes your time just ends, like, you just need to separate ways and grow. But yeah, the thing is that a lot of them would not be able to work together consistently. You understand? Because there's too many alpha jocks in there. Does it make sense? But it would be great as a, like I say, like they should give us the show. I mean, they should give us a series, you know. To answer the second question, no. So the thing is, again, last time I just quickly mentioned that we have the capacity to keep including stuff into our everyday, and maybe removing other stuff as we start to get like a little bit the capacity that we can manage, right? So, for example, like let's say podcasts do not threaten radio unless radio that you're being offered is like a little bit crap. Do you understand? So you will, the same way that you would stop watching Netflix, because Netflix, there's a lot of rubbish on Netflix. When we were introduced to Netflix, like we were like, there was great stuff. But then these odd, like weird series started coming out, and we were like, oh, a new series on Netflix, like let's watch it. And it was an absolute waste of time. It was just badly written, it was badly produced. Like there was, you understand, right? So the thing is that just like, and also podcasts, as I've said before, like there's 1 million plus unique podcasts out there. A lot of that, the mass majority is rubbish as well. And the thing is, again, the way that we consume that particular medium is very different in terms of behavior, right? The way that we want to choose to listen to a podcast, it depends solely on our mood. Where the radio is like we were more prone to put on the radio as a background noise. Does it make sense? Than being a little bit more active. Radio has it just because I'm going to say it, but it's true. It outlasted television, which was its biggest threat. Biggest threat. You know what I'm saying too? It outlasted everything that came its way. When the digital space was introduced, like it lost its purpose. I mean, internally, but externally, people were just listening to radio anyway. They didn't care that they had like a digital space to live in and stuff like that, and that the radio stations were not exactly there just yet, or they were there and they're doing like weird stuff because they didn't really know what to do there. It's just, you understand what I'm saying to you? The medium has its purpose. So the longer a medium will last for as long as it remains true to its purpose. It's the reason why Kodak went out of business. Do you understand? So you know the story of Kodak. Like I know you see one or two shops around. You know, everyone knows Kodak is. Kodak is the photo shops. You know, like the where you go get your photos printed and stuff like that. So Kodak being like a century old, 100 years old, this company now, where again, you guys, I don't know how, because you're part-timers, your age will vary, but for me, like, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I'm talking about like in my like early teens and stuff like that, like I would take my like a camera, I would take some photos. You know the age old story. You go and take it to the Kodak. You fucking wait. Ooh, sorry for my language. Ooh, yes, because it was such frustrating. Sorry, that was just like knee jerk. So like you go, you have to wait a flipping day, for it, and then half the pictures are like over, like there's too much light on the one, and like you maybe get 5 good photos out of it. My point is that Kodak was arrogant. They were arrogant. They were like listen, like we know that people still value the obviously a picture, like a photo, which we do, right? But the thing is that the conglomerate refused to adapt. Do you understand? So the conglomerate completely went bankrupt. When we see a Kodak, that's how we see it. So it's everything digital now, which is what they should have done about 20 years ago, when this started becoming a threat. Do you understand? And digital started becoming a thing in general, where the internet was like I say, quite easy to access for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a special thing, or you know. And so the thing is, again, do you understand where I'm coming from? Radio will continue to go. It will change, like I say, moving to DAB and digital, different story, but it's still radio. Do you understand? It's not like I say, like like I say with Gay Say, Gay Say is one, it's music and podcasts. That's how we restructured it and said this is how it's going to last. You understand? And that was a good decision, you know. Um, but 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 we will still have radio. We still need the real time. No other medium is as immediate and personal as radio, and so it serves its purpose. Do you agree? Do you see how that is, how
Yes, I
that's
agree. I
okay?
agree with what you're saying.
Cool. I mean, you can disagree, obviously. I mean, like the conversations are cool
But
because
I've been hearing this for 10 years when I first started media. That's why I agree with you. Because even then I thought things will change and it hasn't changed.
yeah, no, it's again when we look, and this is important also to understand our society and our culture. South Africans also are very nostalgic in their habits, eh? So the thing is, that's why we are still, I'm guessing, one of the last countries that still print newspapers. Do you understand? Because they want a South African will still buy the newspaper. They will still go and they'll read the newspaper because it's a part of their, like it's a part of what they want to keep. Does it make sense? Even though they've got access to all that news on their phones or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's not it. A newspaper is something anyone can afford. Anyone can afford. I'm saying to you, right? It's that cheap, like, but we still have them. So we're also very loyal to traditional media while embracing the very larger extent of new age media. Okay, so let's like I say, let's carry on here and end the lesson. You can just take a break quickly. Okay, to succeed in the world of audio, you need to know a little about a lot, spend time with a variety of people. Like if you are not, so the thing is, a people's person is what you need to be, but you don't have to like people. I know that sounds terrible. Like I'm not a uh, and again, it's about that extrovert introvert combination of like I'm an extrovert for pay. Does it make sense? In the way that I enjoy performing. Does it make sense? Right. But in my personal in my personal sphere, I am a 100% very happy, solid introvert. Okay, which doesn't mean I'm shy and all that. It means I don't like being around just anybody. Do you understand? It doesn't feed me in any way, which is what an introvert and extrovert is actually defined as. What actually makes you tick, as opposed to like your ability for social etiquette, right? But the thing is that just back here, like you cannot, just your own circle of friends is like to get to know them like intimately is something, a level that we don't actually normally do unless we're forced to. Do you understand? But this whole thing of loving, because I love to know more about another person if it is for a purpose. Does it make sense? It's not a hobby of mine. It is purposeful for me. It makes me more knowledgeable. It makes what I say a lot more validated. Like I have interesting stories to tell myself and to tell others. You understand? Like you have to be someone that can talk to a 5-year old and land, and talk to, like I'm saying, different. Now we have different, like a variety of different genders. Like we have obviously our different age groups, our different like our status groups. Like you must not be afraid to talk to anybody. Do you understand? Because you are a communicator. And that is the best thing about that. Once you take ownership of that title, you're like, yes, man. Like I am here to do what I do best, which is I can talk to anybody at any time about anything. Like, we prep obviously a lot to sound good. But the thing is that, like, at any one point, asking a question is the pivotal tool of finding out more about someone. And then asking the right question is the correct way of doing that, right? Let's have a look here. Over and above all this, there are 7 main qualities. Jeremy Lewis says all students should aim to cultivate an academic life, a positive attitude towards your studies, right? A passion for media, the ability to work and think independently, the ability to preserve and complete tasks, inquiring minds, good English proficiency, because English is the business standard of the world, okay? Even though it is by far not the most highly spoken language in the world, it is the one that people use across the corporate, obviously sector globally. The ability to work well with others, like that is, I mean, if you don't like people, that's one thing, that's fine, that's fine, but you got to be able to work with them as well, okay? I'm going to come back to that, okay? I just want to see which ones that I give answers for. Okay, so this, so I want you to take 14A. I want you to take that and complete that. Maybe get some feedback next week for it. I just want to say I didn't repeat myself here. Okay, and I want to immediately go into like the questions and answers for this. We can just take a bit of a break and then come back for lesson 2. Okay, this one was obviously longer because we had the brief, right? But a shorter lesson for the second lesson, for the lesson 4. Okay, so here's a question I'd like to be answered on the spot right now. Okay, so true or false? Is it easy to get a job in radio? Anybody can answer.
False.
False. Okay, right. And because give me any reason.
First of all, there's a couple of things that they look at in order for you to be considered to be part of the radio team. How you communicate. Are you proficient in English or any other language, depending on the radio station, as well as how creative are you?
Okay, why is it harder? So the thing is that, yeah, I'm gonna. So thank you. I'm gonna go to you in just a moment. I want you to imagine yourself just with the people in this room. That let's say you all are. So you've met the minimum requirements, but also are the last. So you come to the final round of interviews. Do you understand? Like to be able to get, only one of you get that job, like any other job, like 10 to 1, any other job. But this is very specific. Like you have to look at them and say, what on earth do I have that completely stand out? Like we need an X factor in radio. Do you understand? And an X factor is hardly easy to define using words or using written words. Do you understand? You got to show that. Do you understand? And it's a culmination of your personality, and that the way that it is abridged to your skill set, and the way that you champion the skill set and both together. Yes, you were going to say. Sorry, I don't have the class in front of me, so I can't say who is saying what. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think the radio sector is a very small sector, and there are so many passionate people who want to join radio, which makes it difficult to get a job in radio.
Very good. Yeah, and the thing is because unlike 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like it wasn't even a thing. Do you understand? Like you couldn't study radio. It wasn't. There weren't as many radio stations there. Like it wasn't even like you would think. It wouldn't even cross your mind, oh, I want to be on radio. It wouldn't, because it was never a pathway for you. You understand? Now that it's become formalized, I mean, it's overseas, it's formalized in high schools. High schools do radio as extracurricular. Like it is so much bigger right now that so many more people want to be involved. We have so many also talented people that there's just no space in this country. There really isn't. Right. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Choose the most correct statement. To excel as a radio student, you need to only attend lectures and pass your assessments. To excel as a radio student, you need to attend lectures, pass your assessments, and get into the habit of reading, watching, learning a little bit about a lot, and spending time with a variety of people. I think that's quite obvious, right? So we don't want to insult your intelligence. We know it's obviously number two, right? Okay, and we also know why. Number three, true or false? Because I want to work at an ALS SABC radio station, right? So let's talk PBS, right? English proficiency is not important. So the ALS, we're talking again. We're saying again, Umklobo Wenenes, Motswedings, Lesedi, Kozi, those types. You understand, right? So within that sector. Like, do you believe that English is not important? Anybody? Remember, the opinions we
Can
want.
I try?
Yes, please do.
Well, I believe English will not be important because it will be speaking the language based on the radio station that you are working for.
And also, again, like I mean, we when we want to talk vernacular. Do you understand? So, vernac is like you'll have different types of people there that are also going to be interviewing. You understand? You don't want to also like you might have a variety, like a larger I say variety in the ages, the age of who's listening to you. Um, you want to be able to find like a little bit of like a common ground here and there. The English proficiency is one fine. It is a tool on air, but you as a professional, like a business professional as well, need to be able to communicate in English properly. Not excellently. My English is not, oh, it's not great, man. But the thing is that I know, not because I don't like languages at all. It's just one of those things I never did well in. I didn't care much for it. But the thing is that if I want to articulate something so someone can understand something, I might have more, obviously, the more I understand of the language, the better it is. But you know that every single time you go and apply for a job or whatever it is, they say, like, they don't even say English must be now, you must know English, but then they will say, you must be proficient in like isiZulu, or you understand what I'm saying, you're right. It's a given, and so on many different factors, like that's that. Okay, right. So I'm gonna ask you to take um a 15-minute break. Is that fine? Can you come back at 22? No, no,
Can
that's
I
right.
ask before we go on a break?
Yes. Yeah. I'm just gonna take the slide, close it off, and say hello. Yeah. Tell me again. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Regarding those stations, the ones like Kokwezi FM, for example.
The PBS. Yeah. So
Yes.
so
So I want to know, since they won't take like they're saying that English is not important, do they formulate their content in that language, isiZulu,
So it's not
or
that they do know that they want people, they want jocks that are bilingual. Does it make sense? English being the I say the business foundation. You understand? Just because of just because it's an easy way. You know when you listen to a PBS station, and I see that Shalom and Offense got their hands up. Okay, so I'm speaking now to Offensive, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yes?
Yeah. Okay. So and I'll come to you now in a moment, Shalom. So then, okay. So the thing is that to be able to use vernacular correctly, like it becomes so much more conversational than just because the thing is that that within every language and in your own home language, your first language, right? Like there's very clean versions of it as well. Do you understand? Right? So when I say clean versions, it's very convoluted. In other words, people do not speak convoluted. any language in this world, we need to be able to speak like at a point of what, like the person, quote unquote, the person next door, right? But again, with the English, because it's the world's global business first language. Do you understand? Because it's the only language that brings different countries together. Do you understand? Like they can actually just talk like one thing and then get over with it, whether it be a translator or not. Do you understand? Like the thing is that we want, when you listen to your like the hosts, like I when I do tune in, because I want to be able to also understand what PBS stations are about. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to teach about the stations. Like I normally tune into Motsweding and Lesedi FM, right? And the thing is that, like, especially with the Lesedi FM, I've seen, let's say generally, like they're quite open with the vernacular. Do you understand? But the thing is that the presenters are very well spoken. Maybe I haven't listened of late after the shuffle of presenters, but the thing is that, again, if they have a guest on and this guest wants to communicate in English, so let's say it's a doctor or a like say a psychologist or whatever it is, or it's a political analyst, you know, like they have to be able to um, communicate well enough for it to be. Remember, your job is to be a communicator. Finished. So your job one is to be proficient in languages. You understand, but not hoity-toity. You mustn't be 702. 702 people find very difficult these days to listen to, just because like the way that they use the English language is so, the word is convoluted, right? That it excludes people, it may alienates them, right? And it's just like radio in general is not like that. Okay. Oh yeah, shalom. Yeah,
No, my
want to say.
hand was up from before you answered my question. Really, it was
Oh,
regarding the
okay, yeah.
digital. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm going
yeah,
to
yeah.
take the raise off.
Great. Okay, guys. Okay, so all right, it's 36 past. Let's uh let's make it please till, okay, 10 to. Okay, 10 to. So just go for the 15 minutes, and then I'll see you now in the same room. Okay.
Sorry, what time should we be back?
At 10 to. So
Okay,
take
cool.
15 minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll see you now. Okay. Cheers.